Y'all ready to get up with us? No. I said y'all ready to get up with us? I want to see some people moving.
They say knowledge is power. They say ignorance is bliss. Well, I say this is the hour to take the reins, hit or miss. Can't you feel it's time to make a move? Put your best foot forward.
Hello, welcome to this gathering of Journey in Perfect Faith community. My name is Vicki, and I'm a journeyer. You are welcome here in this virtual gathering, no matter your politics, your background or beliefs, your skin color, your sexuality, your nationality, the state you're in, what you struggle with, what you have joy around. You are God's beloved. Wherever you are and whoever you are in this moment, you are welcome here. I invite you today to consider how you can give financially to Journey and its work in the world. We give away 10% of the money that comes in to people in need and causes that advance our missions of compassion, justice, and spirit. If you have any questions about Journey, please go to our website, journeyifc.com. Today, we are continuing our series called Rise Up with a gathering called Move. When we are afraid, under stress, unsure, or feeling anger, it can feel that the only thing we can do is freeze. We feel paralyzed. We feel impotent to move through what is happening around us. Jesus invited people to move, to follow him, to leave what was familiar, to walk figuratively and literally. Today, we're going to explore the power of being willing to take a step, just a step, and see what God will do through you. I ask you to stop wherever you are. Relax, open your hands, your mind, and your heart. Let's breathe for a moment, opening ourselves to the presence of God's loving presence. Let's take a breath. Take another. And one more. Again, welcome to this gathering. Amen.
The world needs a pep talk. I need you to look, people. Look with your eyes. This is where we live. It's a good place. Look around you. What do you see? Volcanoes, sunsets, Justin Timberlake's teeth. Those things are perfect. But I'm telling you, world, we got some work to do. Open your eyes. How cool is it that we're all alive on the same planet at the same time? I think it's time that we start making cool stuff happen. On the planet we live on, there's poverty, hunger, injustice. The world is full of awesome. It's also full of not awesome. On the planet we live on, there's also potential, possibilities. Puppies. Yeah, I said puppies. I'm getting distracted. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're all here. We're all born to make a difference. It can be easy to get overwhelmed. Feel like you can't do anything. But that's why we have each other. Yeah, there's lots of bad stuff in the world, but there's also you. And there's me. It's time to set some goals. I'm not talking squad goals. I'm talking global goals. All of y'all, the whole world, is my squad goals. What the world needs is love, and also an end to extreme poverty, eliminating inequality, fixing our planet. That's why we got you. That's why we have each other. That's why we got goals, global goals. Together, we're louder. Together we're brighter. Together we're gooder. That isn't a word. Global goal number 4, education. Talking about school, I gotta tell you something. School cafeterias can be scary places. Where do I sit? Where do I not sit? Where's the cool table? Let me tell you something. The cool table is wherever you are. In the lunchroom of the world, there shouldn't be a cool table. Nope. The whole lunchroom should be one big cool table. A big table. A table where everybody's invited. Where everybody has a seat. Where everybody has enough. That's the kind of table that I want to be at. That's the kind of world I want to live in. That's the kind of world that we're building because of people like you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. Let's live in the world where awesome is celebrated every day. Where people treat people like they're people. Those are my kind of people. So get out there. And if you find yourself feeling like it's too tough, remember, you're not alone. There's lots of people at the table. And it's a cool table. Open your eyes. You'll see.
The walls seem way too high, but this ain't no race. Well, can't you feel it's time to make a move? Make a move. And put your best.
I think it's like a lot of people in that season of your life when you begin to kind of move out of your first naivete and you move into that critical distance with your faith and you're kind of saying, you know what, some of these things don't add up. And so for me it was, you know, a lot of women's issues, you know, so that was a huge aspect of it. You know, marriage, I was really newly married and the dominant narrative that I was receiving about marriage just did not square up with what I knew about my parents and what I knew about a lot of the healthy marriages that I had seen as a child growing up in Canada. And I had women pastors, you know, my whole life. And so I couldn't square up a lot of the rhetoric and narrative that I was hearing, you know, with some of that. And then it was even, you know, parenting, and it was a struggle for me because I couldn't have children. And yet the narrative that I always heard was, you know, you need to have children, and women, you know, women should be having children, and what's wrong with you if you're not having children? And feeling like, was God holding that back from me? Or what did that mean for me? And then wondering how to grieve and wondering how to walk through the loss that we were experiencing. And so those things were all tied up in it as well. But then it was even things like, for the first time, my heart was being awakened to God's call for justice. And it was like my eyes were being opened to people who were marginalized and oppressed and my own privilege. And all of these things were coming awake for me. And I began to, it was kind of an odd season because a lot of it was before, you know, the internet was really prevalent. And so it was like, I felt like there were all these conversations happening and things were happening in corners and I was hearing glimpses of them and hearing it happen. And I would just think, yes, I need to have somebody talking about this with me. I need less, you know, 3-ring binders with answer sheets, and I need mystery, and I need wondering, and I need to be able to question, and I need to be able to have those places. And a lot of the things that culturally I struggled with within the churches that I was a part of. And so I began to feel like we had our own liturgy, even as non-denominational charismatics, you know, Father, we just, and it began to feel really empty for me, the way that I'm sure a lot of people who came out of, you know, denominations that were liturgically based maybe felt. And so it began to feel empty for me. And I mean, September 11th happened, and the rhetoric for a lot of the churches in my context were gathering around the idea of like war and just war and like what this would be in Iraq and whatever else. And I just felt there was not a lot of conversation about peacemaking and about, you know, what this would look like. And I couldn't quite square up some of the things, and I didn't know what I didn't know. It just felt like I had a lot of questions and a lot of wondering. And I think that part of me wonders if those questions were more welcome than I thought. But I think I had an idea in my head that they weren't. And so it was easier for me just to kind of slink away and walk away. And I think that sometimes that's helpful. It helps sometimes to kind of cocoon away from the machine and the programs and the things that are wearying you. But I don't think that I necessarily had to. You know, I think that God could have found me there and met me there and worked there, and that could have happened. But I think I had to learn what it was to walk through those questions instead of skipping them over. I think whenever you kind of, what I have found is, again, going back to kind of like the binary thing, when something happens, we're at that point in our faith where we're saying these things aren't adding up, whatever it is, whether it's, the inerrancy of Scripture, some people it's for creation or for whatever, it is. And for me, a lot of it was justice driven and women's issues and my grief and my mourning and a lot of those things that were happening in my own life. Your tendency and your need at that point is to either burn it all down and throw everything away and just walk away as if we can. I don't know that you ever can. Or we just stick our fingers in our ears and, sing happy clappy songs. Exactly. And pretend we don't have them. And if I pretend long enough and if I stay busy enough and if I do enough hard things for Jesus, then I won't have these problems and I can keep this door shut and I can pretend like I know everything. And that was where I defaulted. I defaulted to running faster, striving harder, pushing harder. I'll just push through, I'll push through, I'll push through. To the point where you can't live like that anymore. And then either at some point you'll burn it down or you'll find another way to make your box narrower and smaller and your fence smaller. And so I think that what I had my eyes open to is that there's always that third way. And for me, it was beginning to look through all of those things I had stuffed in the closet that I didn't want to deal with, and begin to realize that some of them needed to be reclaimed, some of them needed to be repurposed, some of them needed to be released, and some of them had unexpected treasures and preciousness to them that I had overburdened. And so the release of opening it and letting those things crash out on me was hard, and there's a lot of people who don't understand because maybe they don't have those same questions, or maybe it hasn't been a struggle for them or whatever else. But I almost felt like pushing through and moving through that brought me to that place of almost being born again all over again. Like my whole heart and life and everything had been renewed, and I was able to hold all of it. I didn't have to choose between them. I didn't have to choose between being a critical thinker and being a person of faith. I didn't have to choose between any of those things. I was able to hold both of them. And one of the things that Bergman says is that that's why hope is so subversive, is because it dares to admit that not all things are as they should be. But the reason why it's subversive is because first you hold space for the despair, and you hold space for the questions and the things that are broken, and yet you are able to hold both. And I think that that's the place where I have ended up, and I'm sure that I'll continue to grow and change and things may shift. But I want to be able to hold space for both the brokenness and the beauty, the now and the not yet. All of those things, the questions and the answers, however imperfect they may feel at times. The sadness and the longing, and the beauty and the holiness of all of it. And so holding both, I think, has saved me.
Put your best foot forward and remember in the end, the hardest part about it is...
Hi, I'm Stacy and I'm a journeyer. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus invites people to leave what is familiar and what is comfortable and move, to allow newness, to walk, to find healing, to hear their calling. These are just a few of the moments when Jesus does this. Passing alongside the Lake of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, the brother of Simon, hurling a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of people." And immediately Simon and Andrew left their nets, their careers, and their business, and followed him. As Jesus walked along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth, and Jesus said to him, "Follow me." And Matthew got up, left his business, followed him. One person came to Jesus and said, "I will follow you, but I have to settle my father's estate first." Jesus said, "Or you could follow me and leave what doesn't have life for you. Leave it for those in your old life." Jesus said to the crowd, "Anyone who follows me won't walk in darkness. They will have the light that gives life." And speaking to the crowd and his disciples, he said to them, "If anyone would come after me, let them let go of their old life and be willing to go through the pain of changing and growing and come follow me." Amen.
just throw them up in the air to see what you will do. Feels like I'm dancing for only you to see when you pick up the cards and hold them just for me. Oh, 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 and you tend to guard your words with me. Keep them safely on your tongue so that they don't run free. But I don't need your voice to hear the whispers through the dark, 'cause they lie safely in the silence between our hearts. Oh, 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 oh. So I'll show you my heart. You whisper through the dark and will go safely to knowing. I'll show you my heart. You whisper through the dark and will go safely to the knowing. I'll show
So what does move mean? I'm moving in a truck right now. That's moving. Reverend Christina Wisdom and I moved to Santa Fe earlier this month. That's moving. People can pack up all kinds of stuff and move. That's moving. The thing that the professor said at the beginning of this series on her video about how to be happy, said that one of the ways to be happy, we said last week, is to be grateful, to thank. Another is to move. And she talked about moving your body, right? To just get up and walk, go outside, run, stretch, yoga, whatever. And that really wasn't part of my life for years. And in the last couple of years, I've gotten really into walking. And I like walking. And there's something that's meditative about it, and there's something that's peaceful about it. And I have been thinking about that this week as I've been thinking about this idea of moving at a larger level, not just walking or running or even driving, which I'm doing now, but instead to move from one thing to another, from one place to another, inside here. And Jesus talks all the time about moving. Okay, people, we're moving. I mean, it's very Western movie. You know what I mean? It's the, all right, hit them up. Hello, let's go. Wagons, cattle, goats. What, I don't, whatever. And the idea that to pick up and go is significant when especially when it means that you're leaving something behind and you're moving towards something. Stacey Baldwin read earlier the scriptures where Jesus is saying to people like James and John, Andrew, Simon Peter. He's not Simon Peter yet, he's just Simon. That's a nickname, Kephas, rock, that Jesus will give him later. The moment when Jesus walks up to Matthew or Levi, depending on the gospel or depending on which list, and he walks up to Matthew and in the tax collector booth, which Matthew runs. Matthew is a very successful business person, and I don't think this is out of the blue, right? In the movies, it's very. I think that Jesus hangs around in Capernaum. He knows the town, he knows the people, and maybe Matthew/Levi has been going to hear Jesus, but he's been standing in the back because he's a tax collector and he's, persona non grata. Maybe Jesus has been talking to him now and again, which would make Jesus unclean, which I really like. Do you know what I mean? Like Jesus is always doing things that make him ceremonially, ritually unclean, like touching sick people, speaking to women, healing on the Sabbath, blah, blah, blah. Parenthetically, I don't know what no, sir, please, you go ahead. I don't know what your things that you were told would make you unclean, whether it was about sex or dancing or playing cards or, saying a bad word. At one point, my family, when I was growing up, was so strict religiously that you weren't allowed to use the word fool. You weren't allowed to call somebody a fool, thou fool, whatever, because a translation, maybe it was the King James translation, I don't remember, of Jesus saying, look, I get that, Jesus is reinterpreting the law, and he says, I get that the law says you're not supposed to attack people, hurt people physically, kill people, murder people. I get it. But if what you're doing is harboring hatred toward people and grudges toward people, and you denigrate them and you call somebody an idiot, a fool, a jerk, an ass, how is that really different in you, inside of you, from wanting to kill them or wanting to murder them or murdering them? How is it, I mean, at a deep level, how is it really energetically different? Right? I mean, that's how Jesus thinks. That the law is an external that's irrelevant. Not irrelevant, it's secondary to the internal, which is where we really, really live, where our spirit lives, where our heart lives, where our real life is. Matthew is somebody who is unclean because he has this job as a tax collector. And there is the day, we don't know the pretext, the context, the run-up, when Jesus comes to him and says, I want you to follow me. And Matthew leaves his very successful business and becomes one of Jesus's students in his school. It's bizarre. It's scandalous. Somebody who has a super powerful position in government, somebody who has a very successful whatever practice, who just gives it up and goes and becomes a missionary or a teacher or some other thing where she or he or they live out a kind of faith that they did not, it wasn't running their decisions before this, and they sacrifice a lot. When Jesus says move, it's always about leaving and moving toward. Always. It's always about the idea that I want you to follow me. And when that happens, and here's the second part, you're going to have to leave behind some things. We've talked in this series before about this moment when somebody says, Jesus, I would love to come and follow you and be part of your school or be part of your movement or be part of your whatever, but I have my Father's estate to handle, and so, but can I kind of be in both places at the same time? And Jesus says, in your case, no. You're too bound up in your business, what you think you need to handle. I mean, does that speak to anybody but me? These are the things you have to handle before you can attend to what's in here, before you can be open to anything that's new, that's open, that's different, that's dangerous. You have to get all your stuff in order. Nope. And Jesus uses this weird phrase, let the dead bury the dead. Like the things that are back there from where you're coming from, where you are now, where you're stuck, that's like death. So why don't you just let the stuff that's back there handle the stuff that's back there, and you come follow me. He says to many people, I want you to leave what's safe and familiar and come with me, and I'm going to show you something different. It's cold. And it will feel like death. I don't know, journeyers, what your thing is. That's your safe thing. Is it that you can control everything? Is it that you can keep it together? Is it that you know everything? Is it that you have answers? Is it that you are competent? Is it that you have a particular reputation to maintain? Is it that you have a grudge that you really, really like and that has been a source of nourishment for you for a long time? Is it that that person is just an ass and I'm going to hold on to that? They hurt me, they did whatever. That political party is evil. That person in my office is evil. That person in my family is horrible. Yeah, okay. And Jesus says, it's going to feel like death. It's going to feel like crucifixion when you give that up. But you can't drag that with you. To go into this place of openness and possibility and beauty and newness of life, you're just going to have to let that go. It's just too much. It's too much to carry. Which is really hard, right? And we in our culture who have everything, we have so much everything, we can't even keep all the everything, we can't even hold all the everything, we don't even know where to put all the everything. So we have storage units, or we have storage buildings, or we have entire other houses to hold all the everything. And then we buy more everything, and then we look around at all the everything we have and we think, boy, this is a bunch of crap. Why do I have all this? We have all this because we're afraid to let go of all the everything, because our culture tells us that that's what will keep us happy. Before Christina and I moved, we purged, and I sold stuff on Craigslist, and I gave stuff away on Craigslist, and we threw stuff out, and we took stuff to Goodwill, and it was lovely. We still had a lot of crap. I don't mean crap, good stuff, but still volume that Mayflower Movers trucked to our house in Santa Fe. And we've spent a week unpacking the stuff. The good thing is that there's a lot of stuff that we've seen that we thought we really needed to bring that with us, and now we look at it and go. So I've been on Craigslist and Nextdoor and Goodwill. In fact, I'm taking a load to Goodwill right now. Here's the thing. Jesus is saying move without guaranteeing what will happen when we leave. But there is something beautiful in saying, I'm going to take a step. I'm going to risk, because I believe something is bigger than me. My brothers and sisters and others, that for me is the heart of faith. Actually, that's everything. That is my religion. That there's something bigger than me, and that it's good. That it's seen in the sky and in mountains and in the laughter of children and all those things on TV that, you know, they say, well, the real things in life, blah, 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 they really can't be bought. They're the things that matter most. This is brought to you by, you know, Brill Cream or what, you know, Ford or whatever. Do they still make Brill Cream? I don't remember. You get the idea. I'm old. What can I say? The idea of there being something bigger than me, bigger than my needs, bigger than my opinions, bigger than my list, bigger than my plan, enables me and enables you to say, okay, I can let go today a little bit. I can let go. I can move. Because the other thing in moving is getting stronger. The more I walk the dog, the more I move, the more I do yoga or stretching or push-ups or whatever, the stronger I get. And the more able I am to do more good work. The more I read and the more I write and the more I journal and the more I pray and the more I think creatively or productively, the stronger my thoughts get. The better I am at showing up in the world in a meaningful way because I'm doing the work. The more I do men's work or spirit work or therapy or meditation or whatever, the stronger I get at being able to show up in here and then out there. And the more I refuse to move, the more I refuse to stretch, the more I refuse to grow. I really think for me personally that that's just based on my doubt that there is in fact anything bigger than me, and what's the point, especially if I'm not comfortable or the day is not going the way I want it to. This coming Wednesday is Ash Wednesday, February 17th, I think. And it's a time when we enter Lent, and Lent is a time of acknowledging that we came from the dirt and we will return to the dirt. That we are not the whole universe. This is good news. Not being the whole universe is good. yeah, but Ricky D, I'm feeling this, or I'm going through this, or I have this, or this is my thing, or this is my whatever. Right. If that's the thing that is keeping you small, or keeping you safe, or keeping you from stretching, then it needs to die. You need to let go of it. You need to get rid of it. You need to say to God, help! This is not helping me. And God will say, oh, now we're getting somewhere. Yippee! That Switchfoot song, I love the line in it. Dare you to move. I think Jesus dares us to move. To rise up requires being willing to move. To let go of what doesn't serve us and what doesn't serve the thing that is bigger than us. So, brothers and sisters, this week, I dare you to move.